delayed is justice denied. I was delayed. I'm sorry. Thank you for your patience. Don't you just sense the history in this room? Don't you just have a real, in your mind's eye, journey back to the 1760s, the 1770s? Don't you just sense the spirit of liberty that's a part of this building? If you look at our state flag, there are two yellow ribbons. The top yellow ribbon, May the 20th, 1775. The shot heard around the world on April the 19th, 1775, had been fired at Lexington and Concord. And our good friends, the Republic of Mecklenburg County, known as Charlotte, they had declared independence, and they've been independent ever since. The bottom ribbon for April 12, 1776. The Provincial Assembly met in Halifax and instructed our delegates to vote for independence. That was the first instruction to delegates of the Continental Congress to declare independence. But before all that, helping to lay the foundation for freedom and liberty in North Carolina was what happened here. You had the one and only Eatonton Tea Party led by women. It was said that nowhere else in the colonies was there such an artillery, this is a quote, artillery of women, who said, despite the hardships it will cause us, despite the terrible inconvenience, we're not going to drink this English tea because we're not going to pay that tax. No taxation without representation. And we had the meeting of the Sons of Liberty that occurred here as the leaders of our colony talked about independence and how we would go about becoming independent and starting our new state, which frankly was a nation in 1776. Surely you sense that in this place. My belief is that heritage of freedom and liberty continues on. And what's the thought process behind it? The question is, where do your rights come from? If they come from those in authority, then those in authority can tell you what you can do. For 99% of the history of the world, that's the way it was. Those in authority, the king, told people what they could do, and people said yes or no, very much like North Korea today. But if our rights don't come from those in authority, those in power, then where do they come from? We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all are created equal and endowed not by a constitution or a Bill of Rights, not by the government, endowed by our Creator, endowed by God with certain inalienable rights. Life, liberty, the freedom to go where we want to go, when we want to go there. Pursuit of happiness, property rights, that we can own stuff at the exclusion of others. These are fundamental rights that are God-given, and Jefferson went on in the Declaration to say that the purpose of government is to protect these fundamental rights and freedoms. That, as Americans, as North Carolinians, we celebrate that on an occasion like this when we install a new member of our General Assembly. You see, our state constitution, we, the people of the state of North Carolina, act not as a pure democracy with each of us showing up and voting, but as a representative republic where we elect our representatives, and we ask them to go and to share the voices that they hear at home there with the government in Raleigh. And that's what we're doing today. But why an oath? Why do we take an oath? Is it just some mere formality? Well, we've been doing oaths since 1776. Our state constitution in 1776 provided for that. And frankly, it recognizes this most important principle that I'm talking about today, that is, our rights are God-given, and they are supreme, and that government's role is to protect those fundamental rights and freedoms. See, our state constitution in 1868 starts like this: "We, the people of the state of North Carolina, grateful to Almighty God, the sovereign ruler of nations, for the preservation of the American Union and the existence of our civil, political, and religious liberties, and acknowledging our dependence upon God for the continuation of those blessings to us and to our posterity." We meet today as that posterity, appreciating the liberties that we have. Yet since 1776, our state constitution has said a frequent recurrence to fundamental principles is absolutely necessary to preserve the blessings of liberty. And that's what we're doing today, thinking about these fundamental bedrock principles. I know your senator-elect embraces these ideals that I'm talking about today. So why an oath? Oaths can go back a long way. I've gone back to as far as the 880s, 890s, a guy named Alfred the Great, who was the king over in England. He kind of brought a group of folks together. The nation of England had not really been unified before Alfred the Great. And Alfred the Great had a problem. He had a Viking problem. All these Vikings kept invading. And they got to England and they liked it so much they stayed. And the question was he going to get rid of those Vikings, in which case there'd just be other Vikings that came in, or was he going to keep those Vikings and try to civilize them? So he decided the Viking that he knew was better than the Vikings he didn't know. So he decided he would try to convert them to Christianity. Well, he talked with them about it, and they agreed to convert, and they were properly baptized. But unfortunately, their Vikingness was greater than their Christianity, and they never once kept their oaths that they took to be supportive of Alfred the Great. Nonetheless, we see this whole idea of oath, that you have to be a person of integrity and honor to take an oath. If you weren't that kind of person, you were outside the law, you were an outlaw. Think of Robin Hood in that period of time. So we do an oath, and a person takes that oath. In part, we recognize that person being a person of integrity, but according to our general statutes that were passed in 1777, it says that we take an oath to, before all the people, recognizing that this person will set aside his personal self-interest to do what's right and just and fair for all the people, and most importantly, before God Almighty, who sees all things and knows all things, that he will do what is just and right and fair for everyone, not just for himself. With that being said, Bob, at this time I would like to administer your oath. Do you state your name?
Bob Steinburg.
Solemnly and sincerely swear that you'll support the Constitution of the United States, that you'll be faithful and bear true allegiance to the state of North Carolina and to the constitutional powers and authorities which are or may be established for the government thereof, and that you'll endeavor to support, maintain, and defend the Constitution of said state, not inconsistent with the Constitution of the United States, to the best of your knowledge and ability, so help you God.
I do, so help me God.
And do you swear that you will well and truly execute the duties of your office as a member of the Senate according to the best of your skill and ability, according to law, so help you God?
I do, so help me God.
Congratulations, Mr. Senator.
And now it is my distinct pleasure to introduce my friend of many years and our newest senator, Senator Steinburg, for brief remarks, the operative word being brief. So, Senator, if you would please join me.
Thank you, Bill, and Justice Newby, honored guest. Certainly humbled and by being in just being in this room. And as Justice Newby laid out for all of us, acknowledging what has transpired here. The doors are open and I'm looking out at the great Edenton Bay across the courthouse green, and I'm thinking, how in Sand Hill did this guy from upstate New York ever end up in this place at this time? It's absolutely incredible. But I'm a great believer in God's providence, and I am a believer in God incidents and not coincidence. Things all happen for a reason. We travel paths, both good and bumpy, for a number of different reasons, but they are all, as I was told when I was studying for the ministry, they're growing edges. These are growing edges, and the growing edges are what shape us and help us become who we are. Before I delve into a few remarks, and I noticed my friend Bill had mentioned brief. We even put brief on the I want you to know that the printer called me and he said, "You got a typo." And I said, "Yeah, I went over this thing 5 times. I said, "What's the typo?" He said, "You got the word brief in there." So they all know. But I want to, this is a wonderful day for me and my family. My son Bobby is here, obviously my wife Marie, who just assisted in the administration of the oath, holding the Bible. But there's a very, very important day coming up in just a couple of days. This is the 4th of January today, and on the 6th of January, Sunday, that's Epiphany, also known as Little Christmas, and that's when the Christmas season actually ends. Everybody taking the trees down and so forth. No, it doesn't end until January the 6th. Well, on January the 6th, 47 years ago, I married an angel. And this woman has been by my side for all of these years, through good times and bad, from turbulent waters to calm waters, but she has been the rock that has stood there with me. She is a woman of great Christian values, and whenever I get a few nutty ideas, she'd always make sure that we did a course correction and kept me on the straight and narrow. I can assure you that I would not be here today if it were not for her. So I would like to acknowledge my wife of 47 years. Responsibility that had been placed upon my shoulders. And I thought to myself, you know, I'm really going to walk the straight and narrow now, because these people are counting on me, and I do not want to ever embarrass them. I do not want to ever let them down. So I need to, first of all, before I ask anything of anyone else, including my God, I need to ask of myself for a higher standard of personal responsibility. And I have tried to uphold that. We've had some interesting news stories over the years. I am, someone who has great passion. Sometimes people mistake passion for anger. It is not. It is passion. And I am going to stand up for those things that I believe in, regardless of what anyone says, including my brothers and sisters in the General Assembly. There are certain things that we've seen in the news over the years that I embraced because I felt it was the right thing to do, and when others' knees weakened, my resolve remained the same. And I just believe if we don't stand for something, we stand for nothing. So we must, each and every one of us, must take our own personal responsibility. I am here to represent you in Raleigh, but we are a team. We are together. We work together. When anyone comes to the office that I get to use in Raleigh while I'm there, I always remind them that this is your office. Please come into your office, and I thank them for the opportunity of allowing me to occupy that office on their behalf. We have wonderful things that have happened in northeastern North Carolina. Justice Newby alluded to the great history, the awe-inspiring history of this region. It is truly, absolutely incredible. This is not just the history of northeastern North Carolina, the history of North Carolina. This is the history of America. This is the cradle of American history, right here where we stand and throughout the Albemarle region. We need to remember that. We need to understand that it is our duty and our responsibility to be able to help our brothers and sisters at whatever economic strata. It makes no difference. We're there to help them. If we've been successful, thanks be to God that we've been successful, but we need to share that success with others, because we will never be winners. We will never really truly be leaders. We will never be the best region, the #1 region in the state, until we understand we are all in this together. It's not winners and losers. We're all going to be winners, and we can be winners, and we will be winners if we remember to help our brothers and sisters regardless of color, regardless of race, regardless of creed, regardless of partisan politics. We need to all pull together, and we can accomplish what we have begun 6 years ago, and that is to turn this great district around. It is happening. It's going to continue to happen. It can't be stopped unless you decide to stop it. We're in this together, folks. I'm counting on you. I'm counting on your help. I'm counting on your inspiration, and I am primarily counting on your prayers. When things get low, and they very often do when you're a public servant, and I find myself thinking, why did I ever get involved with this? And all of a sudden, you'll be sitting there, and you'll feel this surge come through you. Inexplicable, really. And all of a sudden, you're, it's like the balm of Gilead. I mean, you just feel like something is happening. And you feel restored. And I know that restoration can only come from one source, and that is the Almighty. And it comes from the Almighty through the prayers of His people. And I know you've been praying for me. I couldn't do this without you. I won't be able to go forward without you. I'm excited about the opportunities that lay before us, and I can assure you, as God is my judge, I can assure you, I will make you proud, and I will never, ever let you down. The door is always open. God bless each and every one of you. Thank you so much.